librarian in the camp. And there was a Jewish officer, Secret Service officer, and he took me under his wings. So before already, I was there were cross hearings, so they did not torture anybody. That is very important to know this nowadays. They did not torture in order to get information, but they did cross hearings. So my comrade, who had been in Eastern Europe, they wanted to find out if he was a Nazi, if he was a war criminal, or if he was an anti-Nazi. These were the three categories. So they said, where you do? You were in this company, in this division, you were near Lodz or whatever, or in Poland somewhere, and you drove a truck. What was on the truck? And well, people were on the truck. What kind of people were on the truck? And so suddenly then they crossed him and they found out that he drove people into that quarry where they were shot and so on. So then he was a war criminal. And with me, they asked, because I was in the Catholic Youth Movement in Frankfurt, and we had helped Jewish people, and we had spread letters of Bishop von Galen in Münster, who protested against concentration camps, the only one. And so the Gestapo was behind that, and they came and we had to suffer from it, and so on. So they asked back and forth what the name of the Pope was, the history of the Pope, that was really genuine and was really a leader in this organization. And they knew Frankfurt better than I knew, and they spoke German better than I did. So that is how I then was categorized as anti-Nazi, and then was sent into a training camp, where the first time I then came in contact with the critical theory of society of the Frankfurt School. The Frankfurt School was not in Frankfurt at that time, but they were in New York, at Columbia University. And while Morgenthau in the government of Roosevelt thought that all Germans had been Nazi, so therefore they all should be castrated and Germany should be deindustrialized, he was fired under the influence of the Frankfurt School people and the New School people, which is today the New School University in New York. So the Roosevelt administration, through Mrs. Roosevelt, listened. So she had more influence, very good influence. So Walter Benjamin, whom some of you maybe, there's a picture hanging there, he came to Marseille, and there suddenly was somebody missing whom Mrs. Roosevelt put there. She put there an agent who helped all the Jewish intellectuals who came from Germany to Marseille, helped them up to Portbou, a railroad town, into Spain, and through Spain and Lisbon to New York and so on. And when Dr. Benjamin came on that day, Ms. Roosevelt lost that man because he, Mr. Roosevelt, wanted to get in contact with the Vichy government of Pétain. That means the Nazi government. The Germans only occupied the northern part of France and set the southern part free under Pétain, who was the famous French general who defended the city of Verdun, where in the First World War 1 million men died from both sides. So that was one of the horrible battles. He had a poor ending after the war. He was sentenced as a war criminal, and he was a very old man already and was treated very badly, but his death penalty was commuted, so he could live his life out there. So nevertheless, so the main thing is that I became familiar the first time with these people. The Frankfurt School people had argued that not all Germans were Nazis, and so they selected 20,000 out of 300,000 German prisoners from the Afrika Korps and educated them to send them back to Germany in order to make out of the fascist government a liberal government, which is very easy to do. So, and the other way around is also very easy to do. So, nevertheless, the Italians had 100,000 prisoners from the Afrika Korps too, and also from them, so people were sent back. So I was sent back home then to Germany finally. After the time I was free during this time, there was no barbed wire, and it didn't make sense anyway to walk away. So when prisoners broke out of the prison, they just let them go because they got hungry somewhere, and when they would steal something, they would be caught and brought back again. So nobody cared when somebody ran away. And nobody was punished. because it is a fundamental human right that you can eat, and so there is no punishment for this. Also, that the prisoner will liberate himself is taken as a human right, and so nobody is punished for that if it is a normal government. So, nevertheless, I was then sent home, and on the way home, a mistake was made. The Liberty ship, as I said, has no names; it has only numbers. So they put the wrong number, the Nazis on the wrong number, or us, or whatever. The Nazis went home to Frankfurt, and the anti-Nazis went to Le Havre, and then to Bolbec, where there was an American concentration camp for SS-men. So I had been together with SS-men sometimes before, but never so close. So when we came to the American officer who played with his dog, he looked like an SS-man himself. And so he took all the cigarettes away from us and all the chocolate, which we had to use to go to Frankfurt and go to the black market, because you cannot have democracy without eating first. So, and then we said, we are anti-Nazis. The Germans were all anti-Nazis. So I then spent 3 weeks in that camp. When I came to the tent, it was underwater. 3 men were dead, and they had not even told the chief that they were dead, because they wanted to have their rations. They wanted to have their food. And so then the doctors came, and we were well fed. So we were supposed to go into the mines, work as miners, which is against the Geneva Convention, but even more so to go to the Normandy and pick up the mines where they lost the maps or never got the maps. And so every few minutes, somebody blew up and lost his arm or leg or his life. And so but it didn't get that far. It was with me, because they found out after 3 weeks, the State Department was our number. And so I was then put on the railroad and went back to Heilbronn, and then from Heilbronn to Frankfurt, and I went to Eisenhower headquarters there, and then from then on I started my work, which I was educated for. So, but first, before I did this, in Frankfurt, I came back, and the whole city destroyed, 80%, all of the German cities were destroyed to 80%. But my house had not, my mother's house had not been destroyed. It was close to the IG Farben building, which was the biggest chemical concern, 100 times bigger than Upjohn or whatever. So that, because we were close to that building, and they didn't bomb that building because they wanted to have it as an administration building. There was another thing which they didn't bomb, that was the railroad station. They didn't destroy it completely because they want to use the rails. And then there was also a hotel in Frankfurt, which they kept because they wanted to live there. So it was all very well planned, the whole thing. Okay, so I did my Abitur then in the Lessing Gymnasium, and then I went to the University of Frankfurt in 1947, and then 1950, the University of Münster, and where there was a famous professor, a Catholic professor, who the first time said the truth about Luther after 400 years. And but I found out later on that he was a Nazi and fascist, which they were all hiding at that time, and then there were some problems. 1953, then I went to Catholic University and studied there a year. In 1954, I began to teach. So that is how the retirement finally started. The teaching at the gymnasium, and then also at trade schools, which made it possible that people who had a trade, were printers or whatever, they could then make the step to the university. They had to choose one discipline, but that the socialists had invented that, because what happened with me, I was with 11 years old, I was stamped as an elite person. That means the 10% who could think, and the socialists broke that, so that when you had a trade, then you could still get out and could still get into the university, to visit the university. Okay, so then 1959, I went then from Dieburg, which was south of Frankfurt, to Meschede, which was north of Frankfurt. And in 1962, I went then teach and started teaching in Baltimore. So by 1960 or so, the Frankfurt School had predicted that that Trumpism would appear. It was here in the newspapers. They said the New Yorker that the Frankfurt School was the only one who knew that Trumpism would be coming. So at that time, I had gone back and forth between Europe and here, and I thought at that time that that fascism would be more of a danger here than it would be over there. If a small country like Germany could ruin the whole universe, what could America do if it would turn into fascism? So that's why we came over here in 1962, and there was all the turmoil, of course, and the assassination of Kennedy and so on. So this was the reason, and it was the reason why I built also the future studies. The governor mentions that I founded this Center for Future Studies, but she forgot to say that it was repressed. It was repressed because I had too many foreigners in there. In reality, it was repressed because of the predictions which we made about the development of the country. So, nevertheless, then in 1965, we went from Baltimore to here, came to here, and it was the Jesuits through whom that happened, Father Harden, John Harden. There is something very peculiar happened here, and as Ken always said, we flew